Here, right? Or, okay. Okay. Good evening.
Test, test, test.
I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, September 15th, 2025 to order. The city encourages you to review tonight's agenda carefully. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Be happy to call roll for the September 15th, 2025 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. As the mayor mentioned, if you would like to make a public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to that agenda item being called. All speakers will identify themselves with name, address, and/or organization before beginning their comment. If you are representing an organization, a notarized affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. If you've not submitted your cards, please do so now. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation may be asked to leave. Mayor and Council, as I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Juliet Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Jacobus.
Present.
And Councilmember Phil Cranmer.
Here.
Mayor, for the record, Councilmember Doug Haney and Councilmember Carol Kirkley are absent. You do have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is the approval of the meeting agenda. Do we have an executive session? No? Okay, I'd like to open it for a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve the meeting agenda. Please place your votes. All right, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, next is general public comment. Do we have any general public comment?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay, so I'll waive those rules and I will now ask you to call the next item.
Mayor, we'll move right into our consent agenda items. That first item is going to be an approval of the September 3rd, 2025 regular City Council meeting minutes. It's agenda item number 25251. Our next item is approval of the September 8th, 2025 special called meeting minutes. Agenda item number 25252. Next, we have an approval of a janitorial services agreement between the City of Milton and Diversified Maintenance RWS LLC for janitorial services at city facilities. Agenda item number 25253. Our next item is approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Southern Sun Control, Inc. for the installation of film on exterior windows at City Hall. Agenda item number 25254. Next, approval of a change order number 4 to the Facilities, Trails, and Parks Maintenance Agreement with Triscapes, Inc. to provide maintenance of the green space properties on Hopewell Road. Agenda item number 25255. Our next item is approval to opt into secondary manufacturers settlements with I'm sorry, I practiced this all day. I'm doing so good too. Alvogen Inc., Amneal Pharmaceuticals LLC, Apotec Corp., Hikma Pharmaceuticals USA Inc., Endivor Inc., Viatris Inc., Sun Pharmaceutical Industries Inc., and Zydus Pharmaceuticals. It's agenda item number 25256. Our next item is an agreement, a private development agreement between the City of Milton and Orkin and Associates LLC to formalize the impact fee credits for system improvements to the intersections Crabapple at Birmingham, McGinnis Ferry Interchange, and multi-use trail improvements as identified in the Milton Capital Improvements Elements Impact Fee eligible projects. Agenda item number 25257. Our final consent agenda item is approval of subdivision plats and revisions. The first development is White Oak Estates. It's located at 15790 Thompson Road. It's land lot 471 and 538. It's District 2, Section 2. The purpose is to reconfigure the 5 existing property lines to create 5 large lots ranging in size from 3.003 acres to 5.513 acres with a total of 20.201 acres and a density of 0.25 lots per acre. The second development is Silverman Acres, Nathaniel Folsom and Mary Silverman at 2095 Mountain Road, Land Lot 189, District 2, Section 2. It's a revision to reconfigure existing parcels to decrease track 1 to 1.219 acres and increase track 2 to 3.810 acres. It's a total of 5.029 acres and a density of 0.39 lots per acre. Agenda item number 25258. That concludes consent. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cranmer and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve the consent agenda as read. Please place your votes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to reports and presentation. Will the city clerk please say on the first item?
Mayor, that first item is a proclamation recognizing Information Technology Professionals Day. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. Tonight, I'm proud to recognize a group of individuals whose work often happens behind the scenes, but their impact is felt across every corner of our city's operations. This proclamation recognizes IT Professionals Day here in the city of Milton. Whereas Tuesday, September 16th is National IT Professionals Day, an annual opportunity to shine a spotlight on information services professionals who are so critical to many institutions' success. And whereas this is certainly true in the city of Milton, where technology is fused into so many aspects of the government's operations. And whereas first responders, for instance, rely on everything working effectively in order to promptly reach those in need, access their full suite of tools, and provide the best possible service to our community. And whereas Milton's IT team also steps up daily to ensure all programs, equipment, and technological systems work as well as they can across the other parts of the city government as well. And whereas, in addition to addressing unexpected technical issues on a 24/7 basis, this group rolls out innovative solutions so that the city can operate even more effectively for Milton employees and citizens alike. And whereas our entire team are the reason for this success, contributing greatly to Milton with their knowledge, positivity, productiveness, and commitment to doing all they can so that technology functions as well as it possibly can. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, proclaim September 16th, 2025 as IT Professionals Day in the city of Milton. And this is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 15th day of September of 2025.
Thank you.
Will the city clerk please say on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is proclamation recognizing Human Resources Professional Day. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. Strong teams don't happen by accident. They are built through thoughtful leadership, care, and consistent support. That's exactly what our human resources team provides to every department and employee in the city of Milton. And tonight, we recognize our human resources department and their unwavering commitment to excellence. Whereas the city of Milton government is only as strong and effective as the men and women who work for it, which makes recruiting, guiding, and supporting an outstanding workforce so vitally important. And whereas Milton's Human Resources Department is central to this critical effort as a primary point of contact for city employees from their first day as public servants through their last. And whereas Matt Marietta, Ashley Kelly, and Jeanette Sitta, also affectionately known as JC, routinely demonstrate expertise, empathy, and time-tested ability to do right by city staff and our community as a whole. And whereas they lead on numerous critical functions such as recruitment, payroll, administering benefits, ensuring compliance with labor and other laws, developing policies, and much, much more. And whereas our HR team's professionalism, responsiveness, and exemplary attitude make the city a better place to work, which supports retention. And whereas this sets the stage for outstanding content, supported public servants who contribute significantly to Milton's high quality of life. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, proclaim September 26, 2025 as Human Resources Professional Day in the city of Milton, and this is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 15th day of September of 2025. Come on down, all of us.
We need a photograph to prove you were here. Because Ashley looked like she was in trouble. And you have to stay for the budget.
And JC.
Greg's in charge.
I want to see, let us see those pretty, there we go.
Okay, we will now move on to first presentation. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Thank you, Mayor. That item is consideration of an ordinance of the City of Milton to amend the Unified Development Code and certain Unified Development Code-related references in Appendix A of the Milton Code related to application and permit fees. It's agenda item number 25259. Mayor Jamison?
Thank you. Do I have a motion on the first presentation items?
Make a motion to approve agenda item 25-259.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Cranmer and a second from Councilor Jacobus to approve the first presentation item. Please place your votes. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll now move on to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that public hearing item is the consideration of an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia, to adopt the fiscal 2026 budget for each fund of the city of Milton, Georgia, appropriating the several items of revenue appropriations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. It was under first presentation and first public hearing in our September 8th, 2025 special called meeting. It's here again tonight under second public hearing with the vote. And it's our agenda item number 25248. Our Deputy City Manager, Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are here this evening to discuss the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026, which will cover revenue collections and spending from October 1st, 2025 to September 30th, 2026. Staff has presented 2 input and feedback sessions, as well as the draft budget in its entirety at the work session on August 11th, which included a detailed look at continuing operation costs as well as new initiatives. On Monday, September 8th, we held the first of 2 public hearings, and tonight we are here for the second and final public hearing related to the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026. There have been no changes to the proposed budget since the initial public hearing, so tonight we'll present a high-level overview, and we'll be happy to address any questions you may have in order to pass this evening. Before you have the consolidated budget summary, which includes all budgeted funds as well as those carrying a fund balance. We have the general fund, which accounts for all operating activity that is not required to be separated out into a separate special revenue fund or capital projects fund. We have 5 special revenue funds, which are required to account for specific revenue sources and their corresponding spending activity, and 6 capital projects funds, which account for capital-related projects and purchases. The citywide budget, including budgeted spending across all funds, is approximately $64 million. Please keep in mind that all capital projects funds are budgeted on a project-linked basis, and any unspent funds will carry over into the next fiscal year as part of the city's capital improvement plan. Just a reminder that all budget requests must tie back to the city's planning process and our strategic goals as outlined in each year's budget book. Each plan that guides spending requests have received public input and has been adopted by council. We have plans including the 5-year strategic plan, the comprehensive plan and its short-term work program, other community development planning documents, transportation plans, the local road safety plan, pavement and stormwater plans, T-SPOS project list, the trail prioritization plan, and other parks and recreation master plans and department-specific strategic plans, and more. Before you is the updated general fund budget summary. You can see the actual earning and spending activity for fiscal year 2023 and 2024, as well as the amended budget for fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2025's figures include all of the amendments detailed at the public hearing last Monday. These amendments will be adopted later this evening under unfinished business if approved by council. And since we have already gone over the fiscal year 2025 amendments in detail last week, we'll focus on the 2026 proposed budget in this presentation. The overall revenue forecast equals $49,782,134, with ongoing revenues increasing by $1.6 million, or 3.3% from 2025's amended budget, and total overall revenues increasing by $1.5 million, or 3%, when taking proceeds from sale of assets and one-time transfers into consideration. Continuing operations, excluding the required 1% contingency and new initiatives, have increased by 1.9% compared to fiscal year 2025's amended budget. Included in this 1.9% increase is the requested 4.1% market adjustment to salaries requested based on the state and local government figures reported in March 2025's Employment Cost Index put out by the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, as well as the impact of these market adjustments on salary-dependent benefits such as the 401A, 457B, employer-provided life and AD&D insurance and disability benefits, and workers' compensation premiums. The overall salary impact of those adjustments, including the impact of salary-dependent benefits calculations, is $794,893 across all staff, of which $664,873, or 84%, is attributable to salaries and wages. When taking contingency and new initiatives for maintenance and operating into consideration, the year-over-year variance is $1,299,179, or 3.5%. At the bottom of the summary, you will see the final projected fund balance at $12,832,945, which is in line with our required reserve policy of 25% of the subsequent year's revenues. Before you is the detailed revenue projections. As mentioned earlier, all current year real property taxes, personal property, and motor vehicle projections are based on the adopted millage rate of 4.193 mils. We went over all the other revenues in details back in August, and we touched on them last week. So tonight I'll just be happy to answer any questions if you have them about our revenue changes. Go through them really quickly. For our new initiatives, nothing has changed since the budget workshop in August. And just as a reminder, these 3 positions will be scheduled to begin on October 1st if approved this evening. The 2 information services positions will also reduce the funding required for the managed services contract, yielding an overall cost savings in fiscal year 2026. Do you have any questions about these new positions? Okay. Moving on to the special revenue funds. First, we have the City Events Fund with anticipated revenues related to vendor fees and sponsorships for events, as well as the interfund transfers, in which including funding from the general fund in the amount of $104,064 and funding from the Hotel Motel Tax Fund in the amount of $65,000. Any unspent funding in fiscal year 25 will reduce the required transfer from the general fund in fiscal year 26 and will be updated throughout the budget amendment process next year. In the opioid settlement fund, we have forecasted revenues at $25,000 and related authorized spending in the amount of $51,077, which includes allocation of fund balance from fiscal year 25. Staff is working together to identify authorized purchases for these settlement funds based on the various agreements the city has signed on to. And the confiscated assets fund has $41,223 in fund balance that will be allocated once the police department identifies suitable purchases that are authorized under the rules of this particular fund. The E911 fund includes a transfer out of all earned revenue to the city of Alpharetta as part of our current IGA. Alpharetta uses these funds to provide dispatch services and facilities. The operating grant fund has no activity planned or fund balance, so the chart here is just showing activity from fiscal year 23 and 24. Our existing operating grant related to ongoing facility assessment does not meet the requirements to be accounted for in this separate fund and will be recognized as part of the general fund activity for fiscal year 25 and 26. The American Rescue Plan Act Fund has no projected activity at this time based on the timeline to spend down the remaining funds associated with the hydrology and stormwater work going on at the Milton City Park and Preserve Passive Acres. If funds are not exhausted by 9/30/25, we'll adjust the budget through a future council-approved amendment. And the hotel motel tax fund accounts for the revenues received from the city's one hotel off Deerfield Parkway. We anticipate approximately $65,000 in FY26 based on recent history, and those funds will be transferred to the city events fund to support expenses associated with city-sponsored events. Again, we changed the name of that fund from the special events fund to the city events fund to be clearer between our sponsored events as well as those hosted by the community. Here we have the capital improvement plan. It's in its entirety, and we also have the budgeted summaries by fund that show how the forecasted revenues and expenditures are allocated across each fund for fiscal year 2026. You can see that some of our projects still have remaining funding expected beyond the 7-year plan out here on the far right. And then here we have a dialed-in view of the city's PAYGO funding requests across the entire 7-year capital improvement plan forecast. We have updated current available balances based on spending in FY25, but no other changes to the FY26 requests have been made since the presentation in August. Be happy to stop here and answer any questions if you have them about the capital improvement plan. Okay. Our final item of discussion this evening is the new capital initiatives. There have been no changes to the new capital initiatives since the budget workshop. The requests include the vehicles for the 2 school liaison officer positions, funding to support recommendations coming out of the Safe Streets for All study, and funding to demo structures across a few different locations within the city. And staff is happy to answer any questions that you may have about the proposed fiscal 26 budget.
Any questions for Bernadette?
Nice job, Bernadette.
Thank you, I
Attention to
appreciate it.
detail is phenomenal.
Well,
And the
it
explanations
takes
are-
the entire team, and I appreciate everyone's hard work. It's a lot of work. Thank you.
Any public comment on this?
There are none, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and I will open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 25-248.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Jacobus and a second from Councilor Verhoff to approve agenda item number 25-248. The voting's open. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there are no zoning agenda items. We will now move on to unfinished business. Will the city clerk please stand the item?
Mayor, that unfinished business item is consideration of an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia, to adopt amendments to the fiscal 2025 budget for each fund of the city of Milton, Georgia, amending the amount shown in each budget as expenditures, amending the several items of revenue appropriations, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures to exceed actual funding available. First presentation and first public hearing was at our September 8th special called meeting. It's under unfinished business tonight for its consideration. It's agenda item number 25-247. Bernadette?
Mayor and council, we have the budget for fiscal year, which was 25, which was approved on September 16th, 2024. And the initial amendments to this budget were approved on June 16th, 2025. The amendment packet before you represents adjustments that will amend line items to carry out projections through the end of the fiscal year on September 30th, 2025. We held our public hearing detailing all of the requested amendments last Monday. So we'll just go over a high-level overview this evening before proceeding to a motion on the item. Before you use the general fund budget summary, you'll see the current budget, including amendments approved back in June under the current budget column, followed by the requested amendments. And on the far right, the amended budget, should the proposed amendments be approved this evening. The amended revenues for fiscal year 2025 are shown at $48.3 million after the requested amendments that will reduce the budget by $178,122 across several categories. Moving down to the expenditure summary, you will see the amended budget at $50 million, including operating transfers out to other funds. 98% of the $3,077,451 amendments are associated with the transfers out to other funds, with $3 million going to the Capital Projects Fund to support the city's pay-as-you-go capital improvement plan, and $19,789 going to the Capital Grant Fund to support the local match required for the hazard mitigation grant that will be accounted for in that fund. If these amendments are approved as presented, the projected general fund balance will be $12,679,558, which puts the city in line with the required fund balance reserves of 25% of the subsequent year's revenues. Any revenues which exceed this forecast and expenditures which come in under this projection will be taken into consideration for one-time projects in the budget amendment process for fiscal year 2026. That is the highlights of the general fund. I'll be happy to answer any questions before we move on to the special revenue fund amendments. Okay. The first fund we will discuss is the City Events Fund, again formerly referred to as a Special Events Fund. For better clarity between special events occurring in the community and those sponsored by the city, we have made this name change. This fund is still budgeted as a special revenue fund and is merged into the general fund for year-end reporting in the annual comprehensive financial report. Edits to the City Events Fund are associated with the recognition of unspent funds for Earth Day. These funds are being released to fund balance in order to balance the request in FY26. Any other unspent funding in FY25 will reduce the budgeted transfer from the general fund next year and will be presented during an amendment process for council approval. The amendment at the bottom of the screen is to update the anticipated revenue from the hotel motel taxes and the corresponding transfer out to the City Events Fund. In the opioid settlement fund, the Georgia Chart of Accounts requires jurisdictions that have taken part in the authorized opioid settlements to recognize related revenues and expenses in a separate special revenue fund. Here you will see a request to recognize available fund balance for eligible equipment purchases in the police department. I'll be happy to answer any questions. That is all the amendments for our special revenue funds before we move on to our capital projects funds. In the primary capital projects funds in the revenue section, you will see recognition of donation revenue from the Milton First Responders Fund for the purchase of 2 motorcycles for the police department, $38,621 in insurance proceeds for a totaled vehicle, and $204,630 in proceeds from the sale of older vehicles and fire apparatus, the recognition of $3 million transfer in from the general fund, and a modification to reduce the transfer in from the ARPA fund in the amount of $105,022 that will now go to the capital grant fund. In the expenditure section, we have a request to recognize those revenue changes, as well as a request to release contingency funds in the amount of $312,201 that will be used to fund contingency and pay-go requests in fiscal year 2026. In the Green Space Bond Fund, we are updating anticipations for tax-related revenues, which will be taken into consideration when calculating the required millage rate for debt service in the future, as well as a correction to anticipated investment income and corresponding adjustments to set aside those interest earnings towards potential arbitrage yield reduction payments in the future. In the T-SPLOST Fund, you can see revenue requests to correct the grant funding anticipated for the Big Creek Greenway project in the amount of $227,546, in anticipation of $59,596 in LMIG Safety Action Plan funding, $1,848,332 in IGA funding from Fulton County for utility relocation expenses, and the recognition of $481,430 from impact fees for the road impact fee eligible projects. In the expenditure section, you will see requests to allocate these revenues across their respective projects. In the capital grant fund, the revenue adjustments in this fund are related to the completion of the EPD recycling and waste diversion grant, the setup of the hazard mitigation grant, and transfers from the general fund and ARPA fund that we discussed earlier. $82,876 will be allocated to other equipment and fire to recognize the hazard mitigation grant and local match funding associated with the purchase of a new generator. The reduction of $4,418 related to the finalized recycling and waste diversion grant, and the allocation of $105,022 in ARPA funding to the MCPP site improvement project for ARPA eligible spending in fiscal year 24. And finally, the release of $884 back to the general fund for unspent local match funding from the recycling grant. And our final fund for the amendments this evening is the Impact Fees Fund, where you will see requests to recognize revenues received from interest earnings in fiscal year 2024 allocated across eligible projects, as well as a transfer of allowable road impact fees for the Morris Road widening project to the T-SPLOST Fund to comply with the budgeting rules associated with that fund. Happy to answer any questions you might have about the amendments this evening.
Any questions for Bernadette? Okay. With that, any public comment?
We do not have any, sir.
Okay, we'll open it for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 25-260. Nope,
Second?
sorry.
Oh.
Wrong one. Make that agenda item 25-247.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Councilor Cranmer and a second from Councilor Johnson To approve agenda item number 25-247, the voting's open. And that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, we will now move on to new business. Will City Clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that new business item is the consideration of a memorandum of understanding by and between Georgia Department of Transportation and City of Milton on project identification number 00-21273, State Route 9 widening from Windward Parkway to the Forsyth County line. It's agenda item number 25260. Mr. Rob Del Ross.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. While we're wait for the slides, there we go. Tonight, I'm here for step one of what will be a long process. We are asking for your approval for a memorandum of understanding with Georgia DOT for the widening of State Route 9 in our city boundary. Primary purpose of this MOU is to outline financial commitments by Georgia DOT that will be formally approved as contracts moving forward in the near future in the form of a project framework agreement, otherwise known as a PFA, and a more detailed right-of-way agreement later on when we're ready to start acquisition. While the city will be responsible for day-to-day project management and project delivery, Georgia DOT retains approval authority and will be working with us every step of the way until construction is finished and we're all celebrating at the ribbon cutting. We are currently in procurement to hire our design partners. That effort is close to completion. More information regarding the project schedule will be shared at that time when we're awarding that contract. Staff intends to deliver the project as aggressively as we possibly can, while including the public outreach opportunities that our residents expect, as well as working within the framework that Georgia DOT requires. We are not starting the project over. We are ensuring that the finished product reflects Milton's values. The Deerfield District serves as Milton's commercial core and a vital hub of the city's tax base. State Route 9 is a key corridor in that district. State Route 9 will provide regional mobility in a way that is uniquely Milton. Ensuring that State Route 9 continues to operate in a safe and efficient manner is critical for us. When major arterials such as that road begin to get congested, cities such as Milton start seeing increases in all speeds, traffic volumes, and truck volumes on our local roads when vehicles look for other ways to get from point A to point B. Financial summary, very quickly in the MOU, the financial commitments from Georgia DOT include 100% reimbursement of the city's engineering and right-of-way costs. That will be formalized again in those future contracts. The only caveat to this is that Georgia DOT is expecting Milton to cover any right-of-way costs if the new project footprint exceeds the prior footprint, which we do not expect it to. That concludes the presentation. I'm open to any questions you have.
Yeah, Rob, you would assume with the reduction of speed, the footprint would actually be smaller maybe? Or-
That's correct.
Okay, good. Any questions for Rob? Huh? This is good. First step of a long
A long
path.
journey.
But I think it all is going to work out in the end for Milton residents. So good stuff. Okay, do I have a motion? Or do we have any public comment on this?
We do not, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 25-260.
Second.
Okay, have a motion from Councilor Jacobus and a second from Councilor Verhoff to approve agenda item number 25-260. Please place your votes. The screen messed up. Is everybody through, Tammy? Oh, no, not us.
It's still not letting me do it.
I'm in.
Nope.
There we go. All right. Motion passes unanimously. I know Councilman Johnson was waving there.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. With that, any council reports? Hearing none, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Can we do that electronically, sir?
Oh, sure. Motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, that's Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Johnson to adjourn. Please place your votes. We are adjourned. Thank you.